I'm Janet Morena, Executive Director of Priests for Life. I hope you're enjoying our new night for Just Ask Janet, now Wednesday evenings. I hope that's working for you. Well, joining me today is another expert on abortion recovery, how abortion affects the moms and the dads. But on this show, we're going to focus on the dad. Every abortion, every baby who dies, the mom is affected, but the father is too. Well, joining me is a great expert in this field is Kevin Burke. He's co-founder of Rachel's Vineyard, along with his wonderful wife, Dr. Teresa Burke. And we are going to have some very important things for you to learn today. So let's introduce Kevin. Come on in, Kevin.
Hi, Janet.
Hello. Well, I know you have been working with your wife, Dr. Teresa Burke, for decades, in the establishing of Rachel's Vineyard. But also men have been coming on these retreats for a long time. This is not like a new thing, correct?
Yeah, that was one of the unique things about Teresa's model of treatment is that it included men from the very beginning in the group process, in the healing process. And right. So that provided me with a great opportunity to see that something I have to say I didn't understand initially, but as I went through the retreat and heard the stories of men and had heard them share their pain, I realized, boy, they're as deeply impacted as women, sometimes in some different, unique ways, but equally wounded spiritually and emotionally.
Right. And of course, Kevin, I was just recently at the March for Life in DC, where we always have Silent No More represented. Women, moms and dads get up and give their testimony, 3-minute testimony. I know you weren't there, but there was a lot of powerful testimonies. But today I want to focus on one father. And what he does, Kevin, he reads a letter to his aborted child. So I'd like to play that testimony right now for everybody. And I'm going to warn you, it is emotional. And then we come back, I'm going to ask you, Kevin, to unpack that for us, to show us the grief and how did he get healed and where are we with this? Because I think more people have to realize, you hear so much in the media, oh, it's women's healthcare. No one, it's not healthcare, first of all, but it affects the mother and the father. And the dad seemed to get swept away. So let's take a look at Jeff from Florida and him kind of pouring out his heart to us. So let's watch this.
This is a letter that I wrote to my aborted son in 1987. As you are well aware, my son, you started your journey in life in the summer of 1987 in the womb of your mother. It must have seemed unusual for you to watch as your father borrowed $200 from a friend to pay for your first trip to the doctor. It must have been difficult for you when your mother entered the building for your appointment and your father didn't even have the courage to come in to join you. It must have been unthinkable for you when you saw your mother lying in unadulterated fear as the doctor began his procedure. Why are my mother and father doing this to me? Must have been the words that you gasped out as a complete stranger took your life in the womb of your mother. Jonathan Andrew Joquin, I am so sorry for what I have done to you. I am sorry that you'll never be able to take the first steps into the loving arms of your parents, that you'll never be able to fill your lungs with a deep breath of fresh air, that you'll never get to speak the first words of amazement to your parents, that you'll never be able to have a birthday party and blow out the candles, that you'll never get to board the bus for your first day of school, that you'll never get to meet your grandparents, aunts, and uncles who would have loved you beyond measure, that you'll never get to meet your sister Faith, who is 21 years old as I write you this letter, that you'll miss your high school graduation, that you'll never have the opportunity of going off to college, you'll never have the opportunity of getting married and having children of your own. I am sorry that I put your mother in such an unthinkable position. I'm sorry that I didn't have the courage to stand up for your life and allow you the opportunity of entering into this world. I am sorry for choosing my future over yours. I am sorry that I used my gift of free choice to prevent you from having yours. I'm sorry for allowing a complete stranger to vacuum you out of your mother's womb. You are not biomedical waste. but a human being with the dignity that only God can give you. I am sorry for waiting so many years before I had the courage to apologize to your mother for taking your life in the womb. I am so sorry to you, my son, for not being the father that you deserve to have in life. I love you, my son, and I hope one day to meet you in heaven. God bless you, brothers and sisters, and thank you.
Kevin, oh my goodness. I mean, I first stood there and heard that dad give this testimony. My eyes were all welled up with tears. Everyone listening, you know how noisy it can be up there. There was like a quietness of people just frozen like this and listening to him. I mean, I've heard a lot of testimonies, over the years of men, dads, but this one where he's going item by item of showing how he robbed this baby of a future. Oh my goodness. So Kevin, now you're kind of like an expert in this field. What are some of the themes you can see that are going on there?
Well, one of the first themes we can see is actually a fruit of healing. And that is that he talks about his failure of courage, his shame of in secret. Now, this is a private situation. He's involved in a secret exchange with his partner at the time. And he encourages her to have that abortion. And in that secrecy, he commits this shameful act. After healing, he's in a position then, strengthened by his healing, to then publicly witness to that truth. Whereas before, it's a shameful act done in private. Here, he's called in a special way, not only to healing, but to publicly witness. And this is a very male, fatherly thing to do, to take responsibility. It's something that you want to teach your children to do. You teach your sons to do, is take responsibility. And he does that in this very public manner. And he shares his heart as a father. It really does, Janet, as you mentioned in the beginning, it cuts through the rhetoric of reproductive choice and rights and laws. And of course, abortion is about those things, but at the heart of abortion is the relationship of a mother or father with their preborn child. Whether they realize it or not, this is the heart of their wound. And he speaks very beautifully and powerfully to that.
Yeah. And then, of course, he didn't go into all the circumstances, but we have to understand that the dad doesn't have any rights under all the laws, even before, Roe v. Wade, now that it's gone, all these other things. The father doesn't really have any rights. It's all about the mom. And the thing is with the dads, and I'm sure you've encountered this case, it looks like he was for the abortion because he said, I borrowed money from a friend, to have your mother have this procedure, to kill you. But we know with the dads, sometimes they don't want her to have the abortion, right? I mean, sometimes they're trying to stop her. So for men, it's a double-sided coin, isn't it? Some are advocating, paying for it, pushing them, making them do it. Others are saying, please don't kill our baby, right? So what's emotionally with that whole dynamic?
I appreciate so much you bringing that up, because there's men watching this right now who are saying, I didn't want the abortion. I wanted the opportunity to go through all those milestones with my son, his first steps, his first time getting on the bus, again, which is a very fatherly thing to say, is because we try to guide our children through those stages of life with their moms. So for him to witness to that is very, very powerful and very, very fatherly. But we have fathers who are denied that opportunity. And in my book, Tears of the Fisherman, Jason is one of the fellows that shares his story. He talks about coming back from the military after serving his country, becoming involved with a woman who he grew to love very much. She was a single mom and had a little girl, and he grew to be a father and love her. And after 2 years of being together and talking about now getting married, there was a pregnancy. And you have to, to make a long story short, she would not listen to any attempts of him to encourage her to have the baby and to support her. And the psychological devastation he experienced, it led to his being hospitalized. And eventually, thank God, through a Rachel's Vineyard retreat and through ongoing healing, he was able to recover from that. But it's really a traumatic wound to those dads, and they really need help. And you can share with them as well, Janet, about our afterabortion.org
Right.
How important that is. If you have been powerless to stop an abortion, you're a man watching this, it's deeply wounded you. That's natural. Please reach out for the help you need.
Yeah, which would be abortionforgiveness.com. Put in your zip code and you'll see where's the nearest Rachel's Vineyard Healing Program right near you. Because that's our bottom line here. Message is we're here for you, whichever way it was, whether you advocated or tried to prevent. We know you're hurting. Abortionforgiveness.com. We want to bring you to that healing and peace that you do receive eventually once you come to grips with what happened. And then too, Kevin, with the dads, what I think struck me was in reading that letter, he showed the effect of that life not being here on earth. And then he also showed the generational effect of you couldn't get married and then have children. I robbed you of that. I robbed you of your aunts and uncles and cousins, of getting to know you. Because, with abortion, as you know, no one thinks about that, do they? Like, oh, they snuff out a life. Okay, move on. But it has this whole effect on the whole family, correct?
Absolutely correct. And I think this is something for our listeners, particularly those that are speaking publicly about abortion, particularly clergy of all denominations or within our Catholic churches and parishes. When you speak about abortion, please talk about mothers and fathers who have had abortions. Talk about grandparents who were involved in abortion decisions or perhaps learned later and lost grandchildren and are grieving. Aunts and uncles who were denied the opportunity to have a relationship with that unique child. And he speaks beautifully to that. But, this is a loss that the heart of it is relationship. This is something we have to really focus on. Yes, the destruction of the child is the first tragedy. We have to try to prevent that. But when abortion takes place, it severs an intimate relationship between a mother and child, but also a child with its family and its future. And that's part of what we need to grieve as a culture. And if we can grieve that and begin to name it properly, I think that helps us in our journey of healing those who have had abortion and stopping abortion.
Right. And especially that the role of the father, the biological DNA of men is to be protectors, right? And so what does abortion do? It strips them, right, of that very core, like moms are supposed to be, we nurture, and you guys are the protectors of your wife, your girlfriend, your baby. And so this goes down to the very core of men's DNA, doesn't it?
Yes, I think it does in a very powerful way. And I think this could be confusing because men are not in touch with this oftentimes at the time of that they're involved in abortion because of the circumstances. There can be anxiety and fear, or just there could be selfishness and a sense of inconvenience of the pregnancy. Regardless, what we find in the healing journey when men share their stories after many years often is that even if you were feeling that way at the time of the abortion, on some instinctual level, that you're failing as a man when you don't protect that child, when you don't protect the mother during that pregnancy. Some men feel that when they're going to the abortion center, when they take the money out for the abortion, they have this sense of something dirty and dark about what they're doing, something shameful. There's an instinctive sense in that. It's connected to that providing and protecting. Now, both parents, of course, are called to do that, but men in a special way are called by God to really protect and care for those entrusted to them. And as Jeff acknowledged, that begins when you're beginning to have sexual relations. And that's why it's important for men to provide a commitment, and a sense for a woman to feel a sense of security in that relationship. So she knows you're going to be there after the conception takes place. So it really begins with the sexual intimacy, of course, as well.
Well, and of course, with women, we talk about all the physical and psychological damage abortion does to them. But there's certain behaviors that men exhibit, and maybe for our listeners, we can talk about just a few of those, because if you have someone in your life and they're exhibiting this behavior, there could be, maybe you didn't have an abortion, but it could have been a girlfriend when they were in high school or college, right? I mean, that's very often the case that they begin to act worse as years go on, especially if they get married and start having a child. and they realize this is not my first kid, right? So what are some of those, quickly, just a little list, so people can begin to recognize, oh no, that's my brother. Oh, that's the way my uncle acts. Or what are some of those?
Some recent studies of men in depression look at how one of the major symptoms of men who are struggling with depression is anger. So I think you'll see with men who have not dealt with this loss in their life, and perhaps they were involved in multiple abortions, you might see anger issues in their relationships with their living children, on the job place. And that can be a helpful way to, if they're reaching out for help for the anger, to ask, was there a pregnancy loss in your past? Sometimes this can crop up in subsequent relationships and difficulty being more intimate, being, that secretive activity can lead you to get involved in future relationships in secret kinds of affairs, or using drugs or alcohol. And those are ways that you could be acting out some of that shame and guilt, anxiety, depression.
Right.
Sleep disturbance can be an issue. Sexual difficulty, either being promiscuous or having difficulty with sexual performance, can be related to not dealing with the past abortion loss. Those are a few of the
and then also too, I think addiction to pornography, gambling, being a workaholic, those kind of get lumped in too, of course, with abusing drugs and alcohol, like with the women. So I think, Kevin, our bottom line message here is to understand that every abortion is the death of a baby, but it is also the damage to a woman, a mom, and a dad. And we want people to be able to get help, healing, and especially that we're in this Lent season. People are being called to come back to their faith, come back to their religion, if they're Catholic, to come back to confession. The priests are there for you, but don't let the confessional be the last stop. After that, you need to do the grief work at Rachel's Vineyard, so that you can really, it's one thing to accept the fact that God forgives you, because his mercy is always there, and we know that. But isn't it? It's a bigger step to forgive yourself. That's what the Rachel's Vineyard does. It takes you beyond God's forgiveness. It reinforces God's forgiveness, but it helps you forgive yourself. Right, Kevin?
Absolutely true. And you may find that you've been to confession once, maybe multiple times, and you're still struggling with forgiving yourself. That's related to needing to go through a process of grieving, unpacking all that with others who understand your loss, who can expertly guide you through that with this very powerful spiritual exercises and the grace of the sacraments. And that will lead you to a place where you're going to open your heart to the light and peace of God in Christ. And folks, I want to say that the bottom line here is that in healing, this is good news, because the Lord will restore you, and in his generosity and mercy, you'll emerge a stronger man, a stronger father, a better husband, a better workmate. So if you're stirred by this, make sure you reach out for healing.
That's right. Well, thank you, Kevin, for this great conversation. And of course, we're going to pray that we are helping a lot of dads find the healing they so need. So thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Well, brothers and sisters, remember that abortionforgiveness.com. You're my ambassadors for the truth out there, and please make sure to spread that, abortionforgiveness.com. Maybe your parish priest will put that every week in the parish bulletin. Hurting from abortion, there's healing available. Go to abortionforgiveness.com. Just like there are some abortions only you can stop, and some lives there only you can save, there are some people only you can help find healing and peace. Join me again next time. Thank you, and God bless. I will be